everyone. Welcome back to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. I'm Ruthie Polinsky, and I am with Clay Harbor and Alex Shapiro, as today is officially the real first day of March Madness, arguably one of the best sports weekends of the entire sports calendar, which is why we are going to make football a March Madness theme today. And we're very excited about it. As you know, if you listened to our last episode, we are playing a little game, and we created our own bracket for the Bears draft picks at number 10 overall. We had 16 players who are going to probably be there at number 10 overall, or who could be there at number 10 over there. Probably a lot of them maybe not there at number 10 overall, but we wanted to play the game, and we seeded them, and we put them in order, and we gave them matchups, and we are now advancing onto the Elite Eight. So to give you all a visual of what this bracket looks like today, we'll run through it, and then we'll start in our various regions, and we will advance to the Final Four. We're also going to crown a national champion today, because why the heck not? All right, so these are our players who have advanced to the Elite Eight. Are the Bears going to take Will Campbell, our 1 seed, or Michael Williams, our 8 seed? That's our first matchup. Our second matchup will be Mason Graham, our 2 seed, up against number 10 seed Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. Will the Bears draft our 3 seed, Armand Membou, or Josh Simmons? 2 tackles going up against each other there. And then our final part of the bracket will be Shamar Stewart, the edge from A&M. He's our 5 seed going up against Ashton Jeanty, the running back out of Boise State. So guys, let's start with our 1 seed, because I think we can kind of move a little quicker through these because you gave your scouting report on all of these guys in our last episode. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. If the Bears have a chance to draft Will Campbell, really good offensive lineman who is probably, there's been some conversation about his arm length. Can he play tackle? Will he be a guard? Regardless, it's a very, very good player. Get him into your building, see what he can do. Maybe compete for that starting left tackle job with Braxton Jones right away. You got Will Campbell, your 1 seed, going up against our 8 seed, Michael Williams, the edge out of Georgia. So you wonder, if the Bears have an opportunity to draft 2 guys, different positions, which direction will they go? And obviously you imagine that they both have very high grades, probably for the Bears board, but I'm curious what you would do, Alex Shapiro. Let's start with you.
Okay, so number 10, you're looking for a foundational guy, right? A guy who's going to stick around for a very long time and play at a very high level. And with Will Campbell, there's a lot of discussion about the short arms, but I know around the league, there are still teams that view him as a tackle, right? There's the discussion, is he a tackle or a guard? There are still some teams that think, okay, he could be a tackle because the tape is really good. And he's a solid player, and he did all of that at left tackle at LSU at a very strong conference against strong competition. So for me, I am going Will Campbell, and it's exactly as you said, Ruthie. You said it perfectly. Get him in the building. Have him compete against Braxton Jones. If he wins that job, phenomenal. If he ends up being a swing tackle and developing, I'm still not that mad, because it's an upgrade and you're going to need backups. And, backup tackle has been a pain point for the Bears. And if he ends up being your starting left guard, I'm also okay. And I'm talking down the road. Joe Thuney is a great, phenomenal all-pro player who is not going to be around Chicago for a decade. He might only be around for a year if the Bears can't get an extension done. Do we expect the Bears to try and get an extension done? We do expect that, but we also expected that out of Keenan Allen, and it didn't happen. So, if Will Campbell ends up being your left guard of the future, I'm also okay with that. But get him in the building, see where you like him. He's going to be a good player somewhere for a long time.
So Will Campbell, you're taking
Will Campbell's my pick.
Will Campbell's your pick. I like Will Campbell. If we're going just off of arm length, I mean, it's 32-inch arms versus 34-inch arms, and Michael Williams would win here. Michael Williams has a shot here because he fits a Dennis Allen scheme, 6'5", 265, 34-inch arms, big guy, didn't run that fast at the combine, but we talked about earlier, he had those 2 sacks in the SEC championship game where he dominated Texas. And then we've already talked about Will Campbell ad nauseum. The one thing I did hear on Will Campbell, which was another little stat that I thought was interesting, according to Pro Football Focus, they grade the true pass sets, which is not the draws, the screens, the runs, just the drop back passes. And he had the highest percentage of true pass sets throughout his career, 39%. And he didn't give up a single sack on 39% of true pass sets. I don't care how long his arms are. This guy played in the SEC. He doesn't give up sacks. He's good in the run game. He's athletic as heck for his size. And like Alex said, we want him to try tackle. If for some reason tackle doesn't work, Joe Thuney is a guy that's getting older. Jonah Jackson did sign a big extension, but he's played in 29 of the last 51 games. The guy's not that available. He's Tevin Jenkins 2.0 as far as availability. Hopefully he changes that. So I would go Will Campbell for $1,000, Bring him down. I like the LSU product.
I'm curious, how does Michael Williams compare to Dayo Odeyingbo?
Very, very similar, in my opinion, to Dayo Odeyingbo. I mean, basically, not a clone. I'd say Michael Williams might be a little more explosive. The reason Dayo Odeyingbo fell to the second round when he came out was he tore his Achilles. He wasn't able to do any of the testing, but I think that if he did, it would be very similar to a Michael Williams. Both big guys, can play 4-eye, can play a little, maybe even 3 technique, but they can move around the front. They play the edge, stout against the run. Not the most freak athletes, but big, long, and strong.
Cool. Love it. All right, Will Campbell unanimously advancing to our Final Four. Let's go down. Let's see who Will Campbell's going to face in the Final Four first. Okay, so that's our 5 and 4 seed. It's Shemar Stewart, the Texas A&M edge, going up against our 4 seed, Ashton Jeanty, which is a name that Bears Twitter just can't seem to get enough of, whether good or bad, whether the Bears should take him or not. But this is an interesting one, guys. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Clay, why don't you start us off on this one?
Man, guys, this is a tough one. I know that the Bears Nation will say Ashton Jeanty hands down. Obviously, it's the problem with Shemar Stewart is his production. But for me, like looking at that guy, how he played at the Senior Bowl with the flashes, freak athlete, knowing how tough it is to block guys once they come into their own as a tight end that are that good athletically, big, fast, strong. We went through the numbers already. The number 1 RAS, relative athletic score of anyone in the NFL Combine history since 1987, the year I was born. The guy's a beast, but I'm going Ashton Jeanty if I had to decide between the two of them. And here's why. 152 missed tackles force. I know those tackles at Boise State are a little bit lighter than those NFL tackles. I was talking to David Hahn Ruthie in the makeup room the other day, and they're like, we're talking about Ashton Jeanty. He said, I like Jeanty. He looks good, but look, he's playing against these guys at Boise State, and you watch his games where he played up. I mean, he doesn't look like he looks good. He doesn't look like the same guy. So is he the same guy? He can catch the football, but he's not going to be a big receiving threat. He's 5'8", little bowling ball. But, I mean, the upside's there. Ben Johnson loves to use 2 running backs. I know it's a deep running back class, but it's also a deep edge rushing class, so I'm going Jeanty.
So we got to talk a little bit more about Shemar Stewart because this guy is an athletic freak, as Clay Harbor alluded to. And seeing him in Dennis Allen's defense is incredibly intriguing. Like Dennis Allen could probably cook up something real nice for him. And if there's anybody to maximize him, it would be a defensive coordinator like Dennis Allen. And the Bears need more defensive end help, even though they added Dayo Odeyingbo, right? The best defensive lines come at you in waves. You want to keep guys fresh. You want guys taking a lot of snaps in those second and third quarters so that in the fourth quarter, Montez Sweat and Dayo Odeyingbo can get after it. So the Bears need more pass rushers, even though they have added. But this is not Dennis Allen's team. This is Ben Johnson's team. And I think the way Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears are going to win is by putting up 45 points a game like they did in Detroit. And you want to talk about how fun Shemar Stewart would be in Dennis Allen's defense? How about how fun would Ashton Jeanty be in Ben Johnson's offense? Give me Ashton Jeanty also.
I think we're going to get scolded again, Alex, because Ruthie's going to say trenches.
No, I mean, listen, that's a tough one for me because I do have concerns about Shemar Stewart's production in college, and his sack numbers are low, and that's concerning. And I think it was really Joshua Perry, Clay, when we had him on the Big Pro Football Show, who kind of talked me off that one, just because you worry about, like, to be that athletic and to not have those numbers, there's something that's not clicking maybe. So I do think if you have an opportunity to get one of the best, if not the best, offensive skill players in the 2025 NFL draft, like, it's going to be hard to say no. I'm coming around to the idea of the Bears adding a player like Ashton Jeanty, or, to all my haters, Tyler Warren, because of what they did in free agency. I'm coming around to it. If you have an opportunity with a player, for example, Tyler Warren in our original bracket going up against Calvin Banks, that to me felt like Calvin Banks is someone that could immediately help that team going up against, you know, maybe a Shemar Stewart who you have concerns about. So listen, it's all relative here, people. Don't come at me. It's just a game. And it's a very unrealistic game. Like, we know that it's not going to come down to these two players. So everyone calm down.
Just a game, Falker.
Just a game. So I'm okay with it. It would fire up Bears Nation to see Ashton Jeanty in a Bears uniform. And because they solidified the interior of the offensive line, because I do believe that they have the guard additions are going to make the tackles better, whether it's Braxton Jones. And we also cannot forget that Karan Amagaji is a project. They drafted him to be a project. He was not supposed to play last year. It was a redshirt year that he was thrown into way too early. That's someone that they have to invest in because he's a third round pick.
Third round pick. We're not giving up on Karan Amagaji.
There are options here. And listen, I know we're talking about defense, whatever. I'm just saying, I feel better about a skill position player being taken if it is Ashton Jeanty at number 10 overall because of what they did in free agency. So that's going to be an interesting one, guys. Our final four, that matchup is juicy. Okay. Let's move on to the other side of the bracket. We have Mason Graham going up against, speak of the devil, Tyler Warren. Alex.
So I know I just got done talking about how I'm excited to see what Ashton Jeanty could do in Ben Johnson's offense. And you could say the exact same thing about Tyler Warren, right? But I do not have the same production versus disruption questions that I have about Shemar Stewart. I don't have those same questions about Mason Graham. This guy disrupts and he produces, and he does it in the pass game and he does it in the run game. This is a serious football player. He will help in the interior. Big Bill coming off the peck. Jervon Dexter and Grady Jarrett probably, are going to be cooking. Adding a fourth guy to that mix, a Mason Graham, could be phenomenal. Because, again, we just got done talking about Joe Thuney. Good player, probably still has some gas in the tank. Bridge player, not a long-term solution. If you have Jervon Dexter and Mason Graham working together, you're talking about long-term solutions in the middle of that line. And again, you need to come at you in waves. I'm going Mason Graham over Tyler Warren.
Clay Harbor. Our tight end.
I think this one bears at first glance. I mean, it might look like, we're talking like Illinois versus Michigan State. You're going Michigan State, obviously. You're keeping in the Big Ten here, talking basketball. But Tyler Warren can just add so much multiplicity and variance to an offense because of his blocking and receiving ability. He's big, tall, he can run, he can catch. I'm still going Mason Graham. I'm still going Mason Graham here.
I was really going to lose it.
And I think that there's an opportunity for him to fall because his measurements were 6'3", 296, and 32-inch arms even. Very, very undersized. So I think that's going to scare some teams away. So in my opinion, he has an opportunity to fall. I don't know how far, but once again, he's proven. He's been a multiple-year starter. We already talked about the wrestling background, which I can't go a show without saying. It just shows you know how to leverage. You're tough. You're physical. You have a good base. You know how to get underneath people, and that is what he does well and can create in the pass game, is stout in the run game, and would look good in front of TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds holding up some blockers there. So I am going Mason Graham. We're making these decisions for Ruthie very easy today.
Love it. No, we're all unanimous so far, so it's all good. Yeah, Mason Graham. If he's there at 10, guys, that's a steal, right?
Steal.
I mean, that's the steal of the draft.
Yeah.
So just let's be clear. Okay, guys, this is an interesting one. Battle of the tackles. We have our 11 seed Josh Simmons, the tackle out of Ohio State, going Michigan to Ohio State. Going up against Armand Membou, the tackle out of Mizzou. He was our 3 seed. So this is 3v11.
Clay, you want to kick us off this time since I started last time?
Yeah, I'll kick us off. I like Josh Simmons. Membou's 20. Simmons is 22, a little bit older. Membou's got longer arms, a little bit bigger, I would say, a little bit more athletic, even though Simmons didn't get to show his stuff at the Combine Pro Day. We'll see what he does. And I like Simmons, but obviously we've said once and we've said before, he's got some issues with his knee, and I want to know how much that's healthy. Before that, he did have 26 consecutive games between San Diego State and Ohio State, where he started at both tackle spots. He can play right or left, which Membou can as well, but Simmons got more experience playing right or left tackle. But my only issue is I'm not sure how his knee feels. So if Membou's on the board, 6'4", 332, 4'9", 40, 9'7" broad jump. I talked about this. 34-inch vertical, 33.5-inch arms. He second highest PFF grade in the country. I mean, this guy didn't allow a single sack or quarterback hit on 411 pass blocking snaps. So I say all that to say this. Membou is athletic. He's got the traits. He's a little young, so he might take a little bit while to develop. He is a right tackle. We have Darnell right there, but I think he can play left. He's played it before. I'm going Armand Membou.
So Armand Membou is extremely intriguing, right? The Raz is off the charts, super athlete, the durability to underline that. He took over as Missouri's starting tackle. Week 10 of 2022, never missed a start after that. That's great. But you said it, Clay. You kind of gave me my argument. He's a right tackle. And the Bears got one of those already. And Darnell Wright played a little bit of left at Tennessee. And they moved him back to the right side. So Darnell Wright feels kind of locked into right tackle. Armand Membou, can he play left? I don't know. You know, it's one thing to switch left guard, right guard. It's another thing to switch right tackle, left tackle. That's kind of a different animal. Do you know how I know can play left tackle? Josh Simmons, who played it at an unbelievably dominant level. And he gave an interesting answer at the Combine for his big jump, because he did take a big jump from 2023 to 2024 when he was playing at a truly elite level. To give you an idea of how elite it was, in 5.5 games, 1 hurry. That's it. That's all he gave up. No QB hits, no sacks, 1 hurry. Was only penalized once. That's really good. And he said the reason he took that big jump is he wanted to be so great. He took advantage of every single resource that was available to him at Ohio State University. The strength and conditioning programs, the nutritionists, the dietitians, the alumni, like the coaches, picking people's brains, you know, working with people. How can I get my technique better? How do I get my body better? How do I get my routine better? All of that. He's like, literally everything I could do to get better, I did it. And he did. He got better. I imagine he is using that same mentality for his rehab. And outside of the Combine, Ian Rappaport reported that the medicals looked good. It looked good. And He said, I'm going to perform at my pro day. I'm on track to do that. It's going to be great. That pro day has yet to happen. We're going to see that next week. So this is a big asterisk. But if he shows that he's still a great athlete, because he is still a great athlete, is he the Raz freak that Armand Membou is? No, he's not. But he is still a dang good athlete who gets way up to the second level, mover and run blocking, et cetera, et cetera. I know he is a left tackle. I'm going with Josh Simmons.
Our first Ruthie tiebreaker. Keep in mind, I went to the University of Michigan. No, but in all seriousness, I watched Armand Membou run his 40, the fastest time of any offensive lineman.
Did you hear it too?
4.91, the loudest 40 of the entire combine. The standing ovation he received inside.
Squats over 600 pounds too, I might add. That's a lot.
Big boy.
There are too many risks with Josh Simmons at number 10. If he were to fall, if you wanted to trade back, if there were other ways to acquire Josh Simmons, not at number 10, between the two of them, Armand Membou, say it again.
Trade your 2 second-round picks to move up if he fell, maybe, if you went elsewhere in the draft.
Sure. I
We're
don't
not
know about
trading
that.
up.
I don't know about that. No, I'm saying if Josh Simmons, I don't think if you're deciding between two offensive linemen at number 10 and Josh Simmons is there and Armand Membou is in our example, the other one, Armand Membou is the athlete. He's young, which means he can probably learn a new position. And you're taking a very, very small risk on a freak of an athlete. So that's the direction I'm going here, Alex Shapiro. I'm sorry to tell you.
It's all right. Hey, it's all right. I get it.
And also can't stand Ohio State.
We also couldn't be aligned on all 4 picks.
It was a good argument.
That was a really good discussion. And obviously this is hypothetical, but they're both great players. But again, I think if you have an option between offensive linemen, really good offensive linemen there, one who's maybe younger and can learn a new position, if flipping sides of the line. Josh Simmons, just with the injury asterisk, is scary. Obviously, this is pre-pro day, so we don't really have all the information quite yet. But for the purposes of our exercise, Armand Membou advancing to the Final Four.
Okay, real quick. So, Ruthie, you're moving Armand Membou to left tackle. Clay, who are you flipping to the left side? Armand Membou or Darnell Wright?
Armand Membou.
100%.
And if he needs a little bit of time to figure out the left tackle position, we got Darnell Wright right there, and I think that he can't figure it out. Braxton Jones. I'm sorry, Braxton Jones there. So I don't think it's something that you're extremely worried about right now. But the upside with this guy is massive because he is such a freak athlete. I know playing tight end, I was great. I had a right-hand stance. I didn't have a left-hand stance until I went to the NFL. You have to go to both sides of the line. It was difficult trying to learn that left-handed stance and just the different footwork. I always put my right hand down. Mercedes Lewis to this day uses right-hand stance, but it's something that if you're athletic, you're young, you can figure it out. Obviously, it's a different pass set, from the right side, from the left side, but it's not like something that's completely foreign to you. You still have the rhythm, you still have the eyes, the feel, but it's just obviously the opposite side of the body. But I think this guy is a guy that can figure it out.
Yeah, no need to move Darnell Wright after the year he had last year. Keep him there. He's moving and grooving. And again, don't forget Joe Thuney, left guard. He's going to help every single left tackle on that roster. That's just going to be so huge. So guys, this is so brutal of us, but we have our 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds in the Final Four.
Hey, they were the top seeds. They were the top seeds for a reason.
Okay, yeah. But this is where it gets a little juicy. Ready?
Yes.
We have Will Campbell up against Ashton Jeanty, and then we have Mason Graham going up against Armand Membou.
What are we starting with?
Let's start with Mason Graham and Armand Membou. Let's start there.
Okay, I'll kick this one off. Both of these feel like pretty real solid picks for the Bears. For me, Ben Johnson's team, offense, Caleb Williams, when rubber hits the road, and I have to make a decision between two very good players who are both going to contribute in the trenches. And I know I just argued against Armand Membou for Josh Simmons, but the Bears, if they want to follow the Lions formula and make that team in Ben Johnson's image, to me, what did the Lions do? They built out their offensive line. They protected Jared Goff. They created holes for their running backs. So I'm bringing in Armand Membou, and we are going to see how the offensive line shakes out. If Braxton Jones wins that job and Armand Membou is in the mix, we're going to figure that out later. But we are bringing in talent. We are bringing in tackle talent, and the overhaul on the offensive line isn't done.
Clay?
I love it. To me, this is 1A and 1B. I think these are two good choices, both good choices. There we go. I can talk. And we just talked about the amazing upside of Armand Membou. He's young, hasn't given up a sack in 411 pass blocking snaps, but neither is Will Campbell. And I am a big Will Campbell truther. And even though his arms are short, and even if he gets moved to guard, I think you got a guy there. You got yourself a dude that's proven, that can do it all. And I think Membou is a guy that can do it too. But I just think Will Campbell is a little bit more certain of a thing. I think Armand Membou.
We're talking Membou versus Mason Graham.
This is Membou, Mason Graham. That's okay. That's okay, Clay.
We're talking versus Mason
Will
Graham.
Campbell. Okay, sorry, Will Campbell. We'll talk about you later. Mason Graham versus Armand Membou.
I was like, wait a second. Okay. Did they already draft Will?
Are we flipping ahead to the national
championship? I got my final
round?
four mixed up here.
That's okay. That's okay. Keep it going. So Armand Membou, what do you think about Mason Graham?
Mason Graham, obviously just talked about him. Extremely stout. Love him on the inside. Dennis Allen, not his prototypical big, lanky guy, but I think he's a guy that can get things done. But I want to put this one on Ruthie Polinsky here. And I'm going to go with Mason Graham in the middle. The Michigan man has a strong tie to her heart. Michigan woman. So let's see what Ruthie Polinsky thinks on the matter here.
Yeah, so to me, and I said this before, Michigan aside, if Mason Graham is there at 10, it's a steal. To me, that's a no-brainer. And I also think when you're looking at maybe a player like Mason Graham going up against an offensive lineman, a tackle, you have to think about the fact that at the press conference last week, Ben Johnson, Ryan Poles, Drew Dahlman, Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, all of them mentioned Braxton by name at left tackle. That, I think, is the plan as of right now. And then I also touched on the fact that Karan Amagaji is still there. He's still a project. You're still hoping to develop that third-round pick. I think if you have a chance to get Mason Graham, you can't pass it up. And that's what I'm going with. Sorry.
Mason Graham.
I would be good.
Going to the Natty.
Mason Graham he's a strong favorite for the national champion right now.
I think he is.
Okay, so we got Mason Graham advancing. Our next juicy matchup, Will Campbell up against Ashton Jeanty.
Who's starting us off here?
Go ahead, Clay.
I think I already tipped my hand a little bit here by talking about Will Campbell before. But, obviously the big discussion on Bears Twitter, I know you guys are big Twitter people, excuse me. Ashton Jeanty at 10. Ashton Jeanty at 10. I wouldn't mind it. I would mind it if Will Campbell was available at 10 because you have a chance to build your trenches. We've talked about this over and over and over again, taking the sexy pick versus taking the smart pick. I think Jeanty's going to have a good career. He can do a lot. This guy's had almost 5,000 yards in his career, 50 touchdowns, average 6.4 yards per carry. Just insane numbers, can run, great contact balance. But this is a very deep running back class. And I think at 39 and 41, even 72, 74, what is it, Alex?
72.
72, that's right. That you can find another running back whether it's 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, whether it's Trayvon Henderson, whether it's you go a little bit deeper and you get Trevor Etienne. There are some running backs that can make a difference. I don't think it's that huge of a drop-off. So that being said, build your trenches. Give me Will Campbell, a guy that can play tackle, guard, extremely smart player. You know how they talked about intelligence over and over again? Will Campbell might be the most intelligent tackle offensive lineman in this draft class. He's just an extremely smart, technically savvy guy. Give me Will Campbell.
Ruthie, I agree. I think the plan right now is for Braxton Jones to be the starting left tackle. But I think plans can change when different players enter the building. And for me, I am with my guy Clay. Will Campbell, this is where the positional value, the full board comes into play. Because Ashton Jeanty is special. He's the best running back in this draft. But I can still get a really, really nice running back later. I don't know that there are players of Will Campbell's caliber later who can play left tackle. We've seen him play left tackle. And again, if he ends up being an all-pro guard, great. So I am going with Will Campbell as well.
I would have done the same, fellas. So we are unanimous there. Okay, ready for our national championship? This is tough. Will Campbell, our 1 seed, facing Mason Graham, our 2 seed. Ready?
Yes.
Alex Shapiro.
I'm re-racking my argument of Armand Membou over Mason Graham. This is Ben Johnson's team. It's all about protecting Caleb Williams. It's all about getting that run game going. It is about building out those trenches still. They did a ton of great work in free agency. I believe that work remains unfinished. I still think they can improve. They can still add talent. Give me Will Campbell.
Clay?
Okay, this is a tough one. You were both trenches. We know, we've talked, we discussed. We're all in on building the trenches. D-line, O-line, very, very big needs for our Chicago Bears on both sides of the ball. This one's tough. The Bears gave up 136 yards. They gave up the most yards, 5.1, yards per carry in between the tackles last year. That was 28th in the entire NFL. You can't win a lot of football games doing that. Give me Mason Graham, and let's have Ruthie Polinsky decide who the Bears take for the national championship to take with their 10th overall pick. See what she says. She's really pulling out her hair right now.
For our listeners, yeah, exactly. She's pulling her hair out right now for our listeners.
This is why I'm not a general manager. Lots of other reasons too.
No, just this.
You know, it's really okay. I'm gonna lean on what I said earlier today. Braxton Jones, Karan Amagaji. You could maybe add some depth pieces later in the draft. Mason Grant, Big Bill. We love Big Bill. Like, we love Big Bill. There's no one that loves Big Bill more than me. But how long are we going to have Big Bill in the mix? And the Zach Pickens project is, it's people are probably a little lukewarm on that. You have Javon Dexter, you have Grady Jarrett, but think about adding another incredible athlete to that
Philadelphia Eagles-esque. Philadelphia Eagles-esque.
Clay, you took the words out of my mouth. I was literally just going to say, you know what? Obviously, we talk about the Lions a ton because Ben Johnson loved his offense, loved his offensive line, used them a ton. But you know what else they had? A really good defense. And you know what else the Eagles had? A really good defensive line. And you look at the way that those teams were able to win games. Like, yes, they're scoring so many points, but they're also not giving up that many. So I think if Mason Graham, and I keep saying this, if Mason Graham is on the board at 10, that to me is such a steal. You got to go. You got to go get him. You got to get
Eagles
Mason
won
Graham.
the Super Bowl with their defensive line.
They did.
Eagles won the Super Bowl with their defensive line. Got to earn the right to rush the passer. And the Bears, if you're giving up 5 yards a clip, what is that, Clay? 5 yards a clip.
5.1 yards a clip between the tackles. 28th in the NFL.
The right to rush the passer with that. Ruthie, I don't hate it, Ruthie.
As one of the all-time, Clay, as one of the all-time Michigan men, defensive lineman retires, same draft class as you, Brandon Graham.
Mm-hmm.
As he exits, we shuffle in the next defensive lineman from the University of Michigan, and he's a Chicago Bear. Woo woo!
Mason Graham.
According to our draft.
Can we inform him that he is a Bear now? How do we do this?
I don't know. Should I call him? No.
Congrats on winning the tournament.
Does this mean Michigan's going to win the tournament?
Yes.
No. We played well in the conference tournament, but I don't know if we can take it all the way. But you better believe I have them in the Final Four.
UC San Diego, never heard of them.
No. Everyone's talking about UC San Diego. Look out for UC San Diego. Look out for UC San Diego. Which makes me think, like, look out for Michigan. You know?
Look out for Mason Graham.
Look out for Mason Graham, because that's who is the champion of our Bears draft bracket. Fellas, that was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you taking me along for that ride. That was very fun. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it, guys. That was a lot of fun. I think we came out with the right guy. I mean, Will Campbell would be a great number 2 man. But if they come home with number 10 with Mason Graham, I will be a very happy camper. And you just know, as a tight end, when I'm looking at a defense and I see a good 3-tech, a good interior defensive line, we're gonna have to come up with some things, because when you're running the ball up the middle, it's gonna be an interesting game plan this week, and that's what Mason Graham does.
I love it, guys. Thank you so much. That was so much fun. We're gonna wrap this up. This was a great episode, and we have a lot of other things that we can still touch on in the coming weeks. Obviously, we haven't gotten to the new punt kickoff returner in Devin Duvernay, who was signed this week. We also haven't talked about Olamide Zaccheaus, who's going to be a huge asset for the Bears, if you ask me. We'll get to all that, because we'll save that for another episode, because that was our grand finale of our bracket draft challenge. Let's make sure Ryan Poles sees what we're thinking here if he has these options. It was a fun exercise. And listen, guys, to both of you, thank you so much, because I actually learned a lot from you both. That was very cool. I feel like I know these guys a lot better. That was a cool way to kind of talk draft with you both. So with that, we will wrap this thing up, and we wish you all a happy weekend of watching college basketball if you so choose. We will be doing that as well. So we appreciate your time. Thanks for listening.
I also want to say happy 1-year anniversary to our co-host here, Ruthie Polinsky, who is going to go on a great vacation to Napa Valley with her husband.
I'm telling everyone my life plan.
Yeah. Are you going to be here on Monday? I think me and Alex should probably just run this one. You're going to be on your on your vacation. So
on my anniversary trip. Yeah.
Anniversary. Sorry.
And my first anniversary.
Her first anniversary. So just a big shout out to Ruthie and a congrats. She got into some amazing restaurants out there, drink a lot of red wine, have a ton of fun, and we'll miss you, but we will still know you're going to be with us in spirit.
It's crazy to think about, like, where I was this time last year when I was, like, about to get married. And now I'm just, like, excited about going on a trip. And it's just not it's exciting, just simply not as exciting. But I appreciate the well wishes, Clay.
It's
Thanks,
the best, isn't it?
Yeah, we're, like, so in love. It's so fun. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. Clay and Alex will see you on Monday. I'll be back later next week. Have a good weekend.